Hi everyone, thanks for joining. I'm Ian. Welcome to HackerOne's webinar on hacker-powered data, the role of hackers in the future of security. My favorite film genre is westerns. Let me share with you how that relates to security. The internet is like the wild, wild west. In the wild, wild west, there are many frontier towns or businesses. Most frontier towns have their own local banks, which house the town folks' assets. The town would have a sheriff with deputies to help protect the town as well as maintain law and order. Unfortunately, once in a while, there are bandits, outlaws, and criminals who roam from town to town, trying to break into the local banks and take advantage of weak security controls and defenses. Unfortunately, those criminals, with their superior numbers and firepower, often end up overwhelming the local law enforcement. In order to seek the external expertise and assistance of bounty hunters, the sheriff would openly welcome the capture of those bandits and the recovery of stolen loot in exchange for reward known as a bounty. These bounty hunters are specially, but not necessarily formally trained in the various tactics, techniques, and procedures used by those outlaws. Similarly, in the modern cybersecurity landscape, it takes skilled bug bounty hunters or hackers to find vulnerabilities, inform us of them, and let us fix them before the cyber criminals can exploit them. Hackers don't break things. They find things that are already broken and let us know about it so that they can be fixed. In the middle of 2020, HackerOne surveyed 1,400 global security leaders at large companies across the world to learn more about their challenges during the pandemic. Unfortunately, what has been observed is that security teams are facing more threats while dealing with diminished resources. Nearly two-thirds, or 64%, of global security leaders believe their organization is more likely to experience a data breach due to COVID-19. And 30% have seen more attacks since the start of the pandemic. Unfortunately, 30% have seen their security teams reduced as well. One quarter have seen their budgets reduced since the pandemic began. But as the pandemic has increased threats and decreased resources, it has also increased distractions. More than a third, or 36%, of security leaders say that digital transformation initiatives have accelerated as a result of COVID-19, and 30% have had to switch priorities from application security to securing new work from home and collaboration tools. Many are now looking to hacker-powered security to augment their own resources and offer a pay-for-results approach that's more justifiable under tightened budgets. As a result of the challenges posed by COVID-19, 30% of security leaders say that they are more open to accepting vulnerability reports from third-party security researchers about information security issues as compared to before the pandemic. This tells us a story that's happening every day. Security leaders are partnering with hackers to make the internet a safer place. CISOs are augmenting security frameworks with hackers' human creativity and always-on security efforts. New options and continued deployment have propelled all global regions to double-digit year-over-year program growth, with APAC adding 93% more programs. Hacker-powered security is a global phenomenon, regardless of how you measure it. The sheer growth in global security programs is stunning, with 30% of all programs on the HackerOne platform launched in the past year. In terms of programs, year-over-year growth in APAC was 93%, nearly doubling the total number of programs in this region. Regions within APEC showing particularly strong program growth and reflecting the diversity of this rapidly maturing market include Singapore, with program growth of 164%, China at 67%, and New Zealand at 40%. New programs were also added in Japan, South Korea, as well as Thailand. Anyone can hack anytime and from anywhere. While many do it to earn money, they also do it to learn in-demand skills, advance their career, or simply for the challenge. Many also pursue hacking as a career. Hackers around the world increased their earnings this past year, with Asia Pacific realizing 131% year-over-year growth as compared to the other regions. Let's take a look at one of our top programs by Verizon Media. Verizon Media, formerly Oath, is a media and technology company under which Yahoo, AOL, Verizon Digital Media Services, TechCrunch, and many more dynamic brands fall. Verizon Media wanted to boost security across all its brands and expand the security efforts Yahoo had implemented to reduce risk of another breach. They continued running the Yahoo public program under the Oath name, which later changed, and introduced a private bug bounty program to cover many of its brands. The private bug bounty program launched and evolved with 4 live hacking events in 2018. In terms of results, in 2018, they received over 1,900 valid vulnerabilities through their private bug bounty program, over 300 of which were high or critical severity. They have paid $5 million in bounties in 2018. That's nearly 5 times the bounties paid in 2017 and nearly 10 times the bounties paid by Verizon Media brands in 2016. So you can see how Verizon Media, partnering with HackerOne, is able to improve their capabilities and try to reduce the risk of a security incident by receiving vulnerabilities from hackers earlier and actually getting them fixed quicker. Shining a spotlight into the APAC region, we can see year-on-year growth in terms of bounties awarded by APAC programs at 68%, as well as bounties earned by APAC hackers at 66%. So you can see there's a lot of collaboration between hackers as well as companies in APAC working together and improving their security. Some of our customers in APAC include the ones that are on screen now. So there are government customers like MINDEF and GovTech in Singapore, as well as other big multinational corporations such as Nintendo, Toyota, Zomato, Grab, Alibaba, Xiaomi, Tencent, Line, Ven, and Oppo. These are just a small sample of some of our customers that are publicly referenceable, but we have so many others. Let's take a look at the program that Line is running. Line Corporation is one of the most popular messaging applications in Asia Pacific. They serve millions of users in countries including Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, Taiwan, India, and others across the globe. Line was concerned that without an open channel, researchers would either exploit the vulnerabilities if they had found any, or disclose them before Line could ever resolve them. They also wanted to show that they are actively improving their security posture over time. So they ran a self-run bug bounty program before deciding to transition over to HackerOne's platform to increase visibility of their program and therefore increase the volume of quality reports. Moving to HackerOne allowed for an increase in participating reporters as well as valid vulnerability reports. It also resulted in a wider array of services being inspected and tested. Lots of interesting and high severity and high business impact bugs were found, including things like SSRF, broken authentication, and even some that led to account takeover. In terms of the types of bugs that are most commonly found in APEC programs, here is a pie chart to show you the difference, the different vulnerability types. The top of which would be, and the most common would be the cross-site scripting, followed by a close second of information disclosure, then improper access control, improper authentication, cross-site scripting request forgery, business logic errors, open redirect, insecure direct object reference, and so on. So most people tend to dismiss or trivialize the severity or the business impact of cross-site scripting bugs. Let me show you an example of a cross-site scripting bug found in Shopify's program. This is a DOM-based cross-site scripting bug found by hacker file descriptor. This vulnerability would have resulted and allowed in realistic attacks against apps using the embedded app SDK. It was severe enough that the hacker file descriptor was awarded $2,500 and was given an additional bonus of yet another $2,500 for chaining multiple bugs together. So never let it be said that cross-site scripting bugs are not important or not dangerous or have any business impact. Interestingly, the majority of bugs found on our programs do not match OWASP top 10 list. On the left is the list of HackerOne's top 10 vulnerabilities, and on the right is the OWASP top 10 list. There are some overlaps, but there are differences also in terms of ranking. However, there were many bugs found by our hackers on our programs that do not even fall under the OWASP top 10. For example, server-side request forgery, insecure direct object reference, privilege escalation, and cross-site request forgery. If we were to only perform pen tests and stick with only predefined methodologies, we will definitely miss out a lot in terms of discovering bugs. So how can we work with hackers? Here are three possible ways common ways that we can work with hackers. On the left, we start off with the vulnerability disclosure program. They are a form of a crowdsourced security. It's a more reactive approach by publishing a process that informs people outside of our organizations what to do when they have discovered a vulnerability in our systems. The US Department of Defense calls this a see something, say something approach. You could see it as rolling out the welcome mat for hackers, encouraging them to safely test and give us vulnerabilities and show us vulnerabilities that they have found. Increasingly, we see vulnerability coordination getting required by more industries for compliance reasons. Front runners such as automotive industries as well as healthcare industries, and we're also starting to see that in governments as well. We can't talk about vulnerability disclosure programs without talking about bug bounties. On the right, we have bug bounty programs, which are an extension of a vulnerability disclosure program. This time, we are taking it to the next level by actively incentivizing the largest community of hackers in the world to perform continuous security research on our products. We are offering cash rewards for valid vulnerabilities. You could say that this is a much more proactive approach, and these tend to get better results. In the middle, we have penetration tests, or pen tests for short. This term is probably most familiar to most of us, and is what we do to achieve compliance. We can also work with hackers to implement such programs as well, leveraging the power of many rather than the power of few. Interestingly, the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, in June this year, released a publication addressing the cybersecurity landscape for 2019. Here they talked about their government programs such as the Government Bug Bounty Program and Vulnerability Disclosure Program. And they actually encourage organizations and companies that want to go beyond baseline cyber hygiene assurances to consider undertaking bug bounty programs or establishing a responsible vulnerability reporting policy. These steps could strengthen their cyber defenses by proactively discovering and eliminating vulnerabilities, which in turn would reduce their reputational risk in the event of a cybersecurity incident. So how do we get started? Let's look at some best practices. Firstly, do it before you need it. We have to do it at our own pace instead of under pressure. Nothing is worse than when your CEO is emailing you for updates about the hacker who messaged him on LinkedIn. Work together with our PR and legal teams to set us up for success. I love this quote from Ned Moran, who said that if you're implementing new controls because you expect an attack, it's probably too late for you. When you first launch a program, start small and work on scaling your program as you become more familiar with the process and the hackers you'll be working with. Define your own journey, assess your company's readiness, set goals, and establish a success criteria. Establish internal processes to work with hackers, to triage reports, to understand how to remediate and fix them in a timely manner. If resources are constrained, look to third-party support to assist with triaging. The last thing you want to do is to go wild with the promotion of your program from day one, and you'll be inundated with a tsunami wave of vulnerabilities, and no one wants that right off the bat. Next, set an action plan encompassing the business need validation, scope identification, and an evaluation strategy prior to an executive alignment meeting. In these modern times, digital sales are skyrocketing and businesses are accelerating innovation to adapt to a rapidly evolving social and economic climate driven by COVID-19. Engineering and IT personnel are slammed trying to keep up. Infrastructure is being pushed to its limits. New technologies are being experimented with, and it's those who come up on top right now that will beat the competition in the long haul. Cyber risk is skyrocketing because security resources aren't scaling proportionally and can't thoroughly test at the pace of innovation. Thus, a security team must make the case for additional spend in order to adapt quickly and protect this critical business initiative. At its core, a hacker-powered security program is a program with different moving parts and should be a shared responsibility across the organization. As you communicate the idea and concept of a bug bounty or vulnerability disclosure program internally across your organization, establish who needs to be involved. Work together with your legal team, your marketing and communications team, as well as the various application owners. A single owner creates bottlenecks and strain on individuals who end up balancing day-to-day operations with the management of these new security initiatives. Next, establish your scope and policy. Define the rules of engagement. Define clearly what's in scope and what's not, what's acceptable behavior and what's not. We want hackers to spend time searching for and finding the bugs that we want to know about on the assets that we care about that we can actually fix. Establish a process or cadence or routine to help optimize your team. The most successful teams start their days by reviewing vulnerability channels first thing in the morning and the last thing in the afternoon. This includes classifying and prioritizing new vulnerabilities, as well as following up on previously identified bugs or checking in on remediation activities. Reports should be triaged and, if needed, sent to the responsible department for further impact and validity assessment. Identify owners that will take responsibility for fixing security bugs. Not having these can result in huge delays in your remediation timeline. Issues uncovered from your program have a hacker on the other end waiting for news as to when the bug will be squashed. Start early on identifying any optimizations or automations to track down owners of various scope assets. And remember, always to communicate and over-communicate. Remember that hackers are people too. They are proud of their work and want it to be appreciated and taken seriously. You may not want to overshare with them, but giving them brief updates on how the vulnerability remediation is coming along is always nice. Hackers hate reporting something and then waiting months not knowing if vulnerabilities have even been fixed or even been looked at or delivered to the right team. Work with hackers, assume that they have positive intent. And remember, they are human beings with feelings, and try to update them, communicate with them, and work with them. If you want to learn more information, here are some additional resources that I highly recommend you check out. Some of the information that I've gotten on these slides, on these slides prior, are actually from the HackerPowered Security Report and some of the top 10 most impactful and rewarded vulnerabilities. If you have any questions or have any further information, feel free to contact us at apexsales@hackerone.com. Thank you for your time. And please reach out to us if you need any further clarifications or any interest in terms of running your own programs with us. Thank you.